Ukraine's government under President Volodymyr Zelensky repeatedly undermined anti-corruption safeguards at major state-owned companies, enabling the embezzlement of hundreds of millions of dollars, according to a New York Times investigation. Since the escalation of the conflict with Russia in 2022, Ukraine's Western allies have provided tens of billions of dollars in military and economic aid, insisting on strict oversight mechanisms to prevent corruption. Central to those safeguards were independent supervisory boards at key state firms, made up of Ukrainian and foreign experts, tasked with monitoring spending and appointing executives. However, the New York Times reported that Zelensky's administration spent nearly 4 years weakening those boards by limiting their authority, delaying appointments, and rewriting corporate rules to curb their power. The paper's findings are based on internal documents and interviews with around 20 Ukrainian and Western officials. The investigation comes as Ukraine faces a major corruption scandal in its energy sector involving Energoatom, the state nuclear operator. Investigators allege that a group linked to Timur Mindik, a businessman described as a close associate of Zelensky, helped orchestrate a kickback scheme worth at least 100 million. Mindik reportedly fled the country just hours before law enforcement carried out searches of his properties. The fallout has been significant. Ukraine's energy and justice ministers have resigned, along with the president's influential chief of staff, Andriy Yermak, according to the report. Authorities later placed blame on Energoatom's supervisory board for failing to prevent corruption, although the NYT noted that the board had been left largely inactive and lacked sufficient independent members. The newspaper found similar patterns of political interference at other strategic state institutions. At Ukrenergo, Ukraine's state power transmission company, the Energy Ministry allegedly pushed a favoured candidate onto the supervisory board in 2021. When the board later deadlocked, the government used the stalemate as grounds to dismiss the company's chief executive, Vladimir Kudrytsky. Several foreign board members resigned in protest. A parallel situation was reported at Ukraine's Defense Procurement Agency, which was established after earlier scandals involving overpriced weapons contracts. The agency reportedly operated without a full supervisory board, weakening internal checks. When board members attempted to protect its head, Marina Bezrukova, the Defense Ministry, amended the agency's charter, removed state representatives, collapsed the quorum, and cleared the way for her dismissal. The investigation adds to growing concerns among Ukrainian watchdog groups and some Western officials about the fate of anti-corruption reforms demanded by Kyiv's foreign backers. A former Ukrainian prime minister cited by the outlet suggested corrupt officials could have siphoned off more than $100 billion in Western assistance since the war began, a claim that has not been independently verified. Russia has repeatedly accused the European Union of turning a blind eye to corruption in Ukraine, arguing that continued financial support, despite recurring scandals, suggests political considerations are outweighing accountability concerns. EU officials, for their part, have said oversight mechanisms remain in place and that aid is tied to reform commitments from Kyiv. The NYT investigation underscores the tension between Ukraine's reliance on Western funding and growing doubts about whether promised transparency reforms have been consistently enforced at the highest levels of government.